I'm joined today by Steve Halloran. Steve was referred to me by a former colleague at ADP, Jim Rafiti. And I'm super excited to get to know Steve a little bit better, as well as work through a number of questions about what it takes to do HR like a boss. So Steve, thank you for joining me.
Yeah, thank you for having me.
So tell me a little bit about your current role, Steve, and what you're doing and a few career highlights.
My current role is the Vice President of People Services for Advanced Disposal here headquartered in Ponte Vedra, Florida. We have a little over 6,000 employees, and we're a publicly traded company on the New York Stock Exchange.
I'm sure you've been challenged in your leadership role in HR and in people responsibilities there at your organization. So has that helped you further define like the purpose of human resources and like what your role is?
You know, early on when I started in late 17, December 2017, we started on a journey where I didn't want to call it HR. You know, and I think what you mentioned early on about being a business person that does HR, that's how I've always described myself. And so, you know, I like the you know, the servant leader type of you know, those type of books have always appealed to me. And I think it's because I think about it from a business standpoint of how do we serve the customer, how do we serve people. And so what we did is we did a rebranding to call it People Services instead of, you know, HR. And so, you know, really I'm the Vice President of People Services, and everybody on my team has a People Services title, so that, you know, we really stay focused on that we serve people. And so, you know, coming back to, you know, your question, you know, I think leaning back on that we serve people, you know, in a time of ambiguity. You know, sometimes we don't have all the answers. Sometimes, you know, sometimes they need EAP. Sometimes they need just a shoulder to cry on. Sometimes they need, you know, a little bit of toughness to tell them, you know, what are you, crazy? You're going to give up this much money sitting on the table. You know, I feel like, you know, my team has really served and really played that role very well as a servant leader in the People Services department. So.
Yeah, and we took that same mantra within my small firm. We call it people operations is how we deem it, because it touches more than just HR. It's got accounting and IT and other things within our small business. But yeah, no, that makes a ton of sense. So in your career, Steve, what have you enjoyed the most about working in people services? I guess I shouldn't call it HR, right? Yeah.
You know, I mean, you know, obviously the people. If you don't like people when you're working in HR, you know, you're going to have some long days. But I think it gives you a different, you know, it's a different day all the time, because you never know what to expect from people. Sometimes, you know, you get different problems you have to work on and different opportunities you have to work on. You know, I certainly love, you know, seeing, you know, succession planning and things that, you know, we've tried to, you know, put kind of a, you know, leadership pipeline, career pathing in place. I love seeing that happen. You know, and especially now as we look to merge into a larger company, you know, I think our people are well prepared to be able to step into that company because of, you know, the challenges we provided to them, the training that we provided to them, and you know, I think they can mix it up with anybody.
Powerful. And nowadays you see these. I saw they were talking about on Sports Center yesterday or recently about these super teams and all the players being in the bubble, right, in the NBA, and now they can create those relationships and create those super teams with all these talented players, right? It's really cool to watch when you have them on your team, but it's really not cool to watch when they're not. So I'm curious, in that point we're talking about standout, is there anything in particular for you, Steve, over your career and working with a variety of different HR professionals, if there were a couple characteristics that you thought stood out to you that made them an A player, a talented HR professional?
That's a good question. I mean, I would say characteristics. I would say, yeah, I like people who are open and honest. Right. I like people who are transparent. I like people who are collaborative. You know, when I look back at my career, and yet, you know, vulnerable at the same time. You know, they're not afraid to say if they're wrong, or they're not afraid to get, you know, information that bubbles up from the bottom, you know, to them, and they don't know all the answers. I think those folks are the tough ones, right? I think it takes a tougher approach these days. You have a tougher mental mindset these days to be like that than to be maybe the old-fashioned command and control type of leader of the days past, where you had, you know, you felt like you had to know all the answers. You had to be smarter than your team.
Well, hey, I appreciate you spending the time. I'll get you out of here on this one. I know it's on the premise of the book. So if you had a chance to describe someone that does HR like a boss, what would be your answer to that one?
You know, HR like a boss. I think somebody who does HR like a boss. I mean, to me, it's a good boss, and good HR would be somebody who serves the people. I mean, I think it's a servant leader. I think it's somebody who understands the business, and you know, not afraid to, you know, not afraid to ask the right questions when they don't know the answer. That to me is HR like a boss. You know, and that, you know, I'd like to think that my folks that work for me, you know, think that way, and also that I got their back, right? That I got people's back. That when the, you know, when the clock's 5 seconds on the clock, and you know, give me the ball and I'll take care of you, right? You know, or if they're in a bad spot, they know they can depend on me. I mean, I think that's HR like a boss. You know, it's empathetic leadership. You know, as a servant leader.
Sure. Yeah. No, I love those points. Yeah. Servant leadership, learning from your mistakes, and knowing your number one job, from what I learned today, is to surround yourself with a bunch of people that are smarter than you, right? Because as a result of that, then you'll be on a team that's super successful, and your job to collaborate and bring them all together and play in harmony, right? As we use that sports analogy. So, Steve, I really appreciate your time. I wish you nothing but continued success.
Yeah, thanks, John. Good luck with the book.